You're listening to Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast. Two friends since Gigapets was a lot of responsibility to handle. Now dads reliving the Disney movies we grew up on with our own kids. I'm Eddie Ferguson.
And I'm JB Waggoner. And on today's episode, we remember that fish are friends and not food as we review Finding Nemo. But before that, Eddie, how are you and the family doing?
As I just told you before we hopped on, it's been a weird energy day. It's just been...
Explain.
Well, you know, Mondays are usually an odd day for me in general, just because Sundays are so busy and crazy. And then Mondays is just kind of like, yes. So we decided... we are not only going to go do our big monthly shopping trip, but hey, let's just kill two birds with one stone. While we're going out and doing our big shopping trip, let's go ahead. We've got a team coming in like a week and a half. Let's just go ahead and knock out all the shopping for all of them. So here we are in, it's a store called Price Mart, which is pretty much Costco. Like if I were to blindfold you, drop you in the middle, you'd be like, oh, I'm in Costco. And it looks just like it. Here we are in Costco with 3 children and 3 carts packed to the gills.
Wow. And
we were just reminiscing about this.
How did you do that?
We didn't. That's the thing. Like, we still don't know. Like but like we didn't do it. It just, we endured it is probably the better route, the better way to say it. But here we are we try and be courteous. Like if we are out and about, we speak Spanish even to each other. One, not to draw attention to ourselves, but also to be courteous to the fact that we live in their culture. We want to speak their language and everything. Mm-hmm. Halfway through this, the niceties are gone. We are talking full volume in English to each other.
Full Ferguson volume.
Yes, mind you, full Ferguson volume. And there was this beautiful moment where we're conversing, trying to like, do we need this item or not? And we are just... I'm not hearing Sarah. Sarah's not hearing me well, like not understanding well, you know. You'd have these marital moments where it's like, why can we not understand the other person? I don't understand, you know, like
exactly.
And it was funny. The kids freeze. Like they have been whiny, complaining, this or that the whole time. And they just freeze. And then all of these like Costa Ricans are like, have no idea, you know, and they're just like, reaching past us to grab something off the shelf or whatever. And it's like, I don't know what's going on here, but we're just but we survived. And then we get to the car and realize we have a small little car. Like, oh, we have no way of getting on. I mean, we live an hour away. So like, how are we going to do all that, you know? So then it becomes this whole new adventure of, how do we get all of this stuff?
How do you pack it in there?
How do you pack it in? So all of our kids have toilet paper on top of them and bags of rice and all this stuff. And it is so loaded down that there was barely like 2 inches of clearance between the chassis and the tires. Like, so the whole ride home, I'm just like, please.
Amazing.
But we made it. We did it. And then the kids just melted down because they didn't get good naps. And it was just like misery. I'll have to send you a video. There was this one moment where I'm trying to cook dinner. Lewis is laying on the floor, just sprawled out like, Daddy, I don't feel well. Asa is over in the corner just crying, just screaming and crying. And Ellie is standing there going, Daddy, I'm going to throw up. Daddy, I'm going to throw up. Daddy, I'm going to throw up. And I'm finally just...
need to throw up?
No. She'd been saying she needed to throw up all day and she didn't. And I am just all compassion. Like earlier on, I'm like, okay, sweetheart, like let's go to the bathroom, da-da-da. No. And then after a while, you realize she doesn't. So I'm just sitting there going, okay, then go to the bathroom. Okay, if you need to throw up, go throw up. Just do it. Just get it. But it was, yes. So that was... all the crazy,
That was
wonderful
today.
entry.
You're
That
in
was
a better
just
place.
today.
Are you in a more zen place now because the kids are asleep? Or
You know what I did is I said, Sarah, I just need a moment. I just need a moment. And so I laid on our bed and I watched half an episode of The West Wing.
that's what I've been doing right now.
That was just there's something about West Wing, just kind of, all right, here we go. Let's
Recenters you, makes the world a better place.
And I mean, how many times have we watched that show? And
I know. I still forget the episodes and I go, I'm like, wait, how did they get out of this again? And then you see it and you're like, that was masterful.
Well, here's what I do now. Sarah was making fun of me for this. I will just like pull up a random season and just like pick a random episode and skip the intro.
Yep.
So don't bring me up to speed. Boom. And then it's like, oh, it's coming out of nowhere for me. And I'm, boom. I'm hooked. I'm enthralled. What's going to happen? Is Congress going to censure Jed Bartlett? We don't know. But enough about me and all my crazy things. We have a few, I would say an eclectic set of Disney news for you here today. As many of you know, this weekend was the Consumer Electronics Show out in Las Vegas, and Disney previewed something that they've actually been talking about for a couple of years. They are partnering with Amazon to create what they're calling Hey Disney. And they're going to launch this, first of all, in Disney like hotel rooms, but then eventually you can purchase this to use on your own Amazon Alexa device, and pretty much kind of serve as an Alexa, but a Disney version of this. Have you heard of this?
Yes, I had. I knew it was coming to the hotels. I didn't realize that this was going to be a consumer-facing product service that you could get. I know that you've already pre-ordered it yourself for all of your Alexa devices at home that you love talking about all the time. Just love doing all of the Jeff Bezos stuff.
Not a single bit of it. If I ever walk into a Disney hotel and this is plugged in, I will immediately unplug it. This will be the first thing I do.
I love it. I love that. I love that energy.
Do you know how much Amazon makes off of Alexa?
No, but I have a feeling you have done some research on this and you've got a number for me.
They make nothing off of Alexa. In fact, they've lost $10 billion this last year in the Alexa department alone.
Wow. Then why do they keep doing it?
Then why do you still use it and have not switched over to all things wonderful Apple?
That wasn't the question. The question was, why do they keep doing it? Because they're the ones losing money.
And it's because it's a failing system. Like that shows you just how bad Alexa really is.
Something that doesn't make money doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. People still use it because it's a helpful device to control all of my TV, my lights, set timers, play music without having to touch my phone and anything like that. That's why people use
things too. Siri does all these things too, but so much better.
At a way cheaper price point.
This is true. I will give you. Yeah, and that's why they lose $10 billion a year.
So that's what I'm saying. Like for me, it does exactly what I want it to do. I don't know why Amazon keeps on doing it because it's not making money. I have no idea why they keep on doing it. Someone should text us an article or something. But no, I had heard about the Hey Disney. I knew it was coming I didn't realize it was consumer facing. It sounds like it's going to be a paid thing, but I don't know. I don't know if it's something.
I don't know if originally they were going to do it, but like a consumer thing. It was just going to be like a theme park thing. But apparently there's been enough interest and excitement about it that people are going to do it.
Gonna Olaf tell you that it's going to be frozen outside?
Right. There is a lot of potential there. There is a lot of really cool things that you could do with it if you were so inclined to have Amazon and Disney spying on you.
And for all the
same time.
And for all the people that can't afford to go to Disney anymore, you can just get this and pretend like you were at the resort.
Exactly. I love the idea of, I haven't done it to you because I'm a kind friend, but to other friends, I love to walk into their house and be like, hey, Alexa, put 100 avocados in my cart. And just...
Does it work?
Wait. It does. Like half the time it does. Because Alexa is a little more open in its like recognition of voices than other assistants.
Yeah.
So you can do that. So it makes me wonder, like, can you walk around like a Disney hotel and be like, hey, Disney, order me, steak on room service, or, if you just like walk around and do random things like that. But I thought that was an interesting little bit to come out of the Consumer Electronics Show. We've also got some theater news, some things kind of ramping up. First of all was I saw a couple articles. I just sent you the one about Elemental being Pixar's most important release. I thought that was appropriate as we review a Pixar movie this episode. I think more and more people are anticipating Elemental just because of how much Pixar, quote unquote, has struggled in recent. You read the article. We pointed out a few things that were obviously off or incorrect in this.
So this is from Screen Rant, and they kind of are setting up this fact that the Elemental really needs to hit it big to kind of turn the ship for Pixar, because they've been through this hiatus of putting content out, putting movies out into theaters until they released Lightyear, which they randomly said wasn't new or hadn't been in theaters. But I think overall the article is kind of pulling at all of that we're feeling, that Pixar really hasn't had a hit in a while, especially not a original hit. Haven't had any of that for quite some time, because we've had a lot of these go straight to Disney Plus, and then Lightyear was a bomb. So there is kind of this pent up energy for a movie that we all are kind of excited about. At least I'm excited about, because it looks and feels a lot like Inside Out. So we're kind of expecting that kind of similar energy, or at least that similar storytelling from it. And I don't know about you, but I resonate with that part of this article from Screen Rant, that yeah, we're kind of waiting for them to be Pixar again and to do the Pixar type of things. One, including being in big theaters, not staying on Disney Plus, which we all felt was like, why did they? This was a bad move from the start and didn't help Disney Plus make the money, because it wasn't making the money. But what were your thoughts reading this article?
Yeah, it made me kind of stop and look back and go, okay, what are some of the last originals, not any type of sequel or using other IP ideas that Pixar has released and has really, really done well. Honestly, I look back, and Coco was the last one. Because after Coco, you had Incredibles 2, then you had Toy Story 4, and then Onward gets disrupted because of COVID. That's the first one.
It did
really well. It was in theaters, but it didn't have its full kind of glory run that most.
The tail of it
Pixar
got cut
movies.
off pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So maybe Onward was the last. I mean, Onward is fantastic. I just don't think it soared to the levels that we're used to Pixar movies having the runway to get going. Exactly. Because it got cut off. And because usually a Pixar movie will stay in theaters for a little while. It's got some legs to it. And this, of course, didn't have that. Then you had Soul go straight to Disney Plus. You and I have our differences on that movie.
You've come closer to my side.
I have. Luca, which for me has been like my favorite Pixar movie since Coco. Like, I really, really love Luca. And I wonder if it had been given the full theatrical run and experience, if it kind of would have taken off and really kind of had that huge moment. Wasn't a huge fan of Turning Red or Lightyear. So yeah, I think what this article is hitting at is spot on. Pixar needs Elemental to hit it big. Otherwise, I think we're gonna see shakeups at Pixar, which I don't want. I don't want to see. I don't think that this is a Pete Docter issue. I would hate to see him, of all people, get pushed out because of that.
No, it doesn't need to reach $2 billion like Avatar
This
did.
next movie.
Yes, Avatar is at $1.5 billion right now. It's still cruising, still making a ton of money. And James Cameron came out recently to say, hey, you know what? Since it broke even, I think we'll make the next ones. I think we'll go ahead and make 4 and 5. It's just funny that he made a film knowing it had to be legendarily financially prosperous to actually need the next films. And so I don't know, are you going to like pull back on how much money you spent, or maybe all that development money was really what they had to recoup first? But so he just came out and recently and said, yeah, we're going to go ahead and make the next ones, even though he hasn't talked to Disney about it yet. Apparently he's like, I still got to talk to people about it. Eddie,
it felt really weird how I watched the interview in which he said all of this, and it was like, okay, is it not? This is so unsure. One, yes, Avatar 2 is the most expensive movie ever produced. What I can't find is he pretty much said like it's got to hit this $1.5 billion to just break even. I can't find anything online that supports like, well, how did this movie cost $1.5 billion to make?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how all that math adds up. There's some huge component that I'm missing. I mean, yes, it cost hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to make, but nothing that I've seen so far to even cross the billion mark, let alone.
Most films, or a lot of films, will spend a comparable amount of money on marketing that it does on actually making the film. It's not always a 1-for-1, but you can generally say whatever they spent on making it, they're going to spend an almost similar amount of money on actually marketing it. So I mean, if he spent a record amount, like if he spent like $600,000 or $700,000 on it, maybe they'd spent close to that just on the marketing. And that's why he's saying it's got around 1.5. It's where they start making money. Or maybe it's even not just like recouping exactly the amount of money, but enough to be like, okay, if you make $1 billion movie, you kind of need to make at least around 500 on top of that to it to be worth it. You can't just break even, but.
And I think there was also an element, I heard him speak on this a couple of times that I thought was really good, he wanted to know, like, do the fans even want more Avatar movies? And kudos to him where he's like, yeah, I don't want to spend my time doing all this if people really don't want it. And these types of movies need the type of numbers Avatar 2 is doing in order to keep churning them out. Otherwise, let's not do it. So that part where I'm going, okay, that I understand. And I definitely left Avatar 2 going, yeah, give me more. Like if it's going to be this, give me more. Because you definitely improved on the first one and showed me there's a world here that more stories. There's a world to be explored. So here we go.
Speaking of worlds to be explored, that brings us to what we're really about today. in our next film from 2003.
Yeah.
We're still in 2003. We are going to go in under the sea as we explore not Ariel's domain, but another Pixar film like we've alluded to. We are today talking about Finding Nemo.
Cue the Disney sound effect.
Okay, IMDb description for Finding Nemo looks like it's very promising. So let's listen to it. After his son is captured in the Great Barrier Reef and taken to Sydney, a timid clownfish sets out on a journey to bring him home. Well done. Well done. That's what I needed that. We've had a string of some weird ones recently.
Yeah.
That I just needed a good, solid, that they should teach this in college and use this as an example. It's great.
So when I put on Finding Nemo, I was drawn to the descriptions that Disney Plus writes. I'm like, we should have been comparing all along the IMDb one to the Disney Plus one because, and I went back and like checked a few of them. I'm like, whoever they got to write all these Disney Plus ones, they know what they're doing. So Finding Nemo's was Marlin makes an epic journey to bring Nemo home when he's taken by divers.
That's really good.
Isn't that really good? It's very solid, like boom, straight down the line.
Love it. Eddie, what was
Both very accurate.
What was your childhood memory of this movie?
I can't remember who all went, but I remember it was a big kind of like get as many family members together and go see this movie together. And I remember watching this in a theater opening weekend, kind of a packed theater. And I mean, this was the moment where I would say by the time Finding Nemo came out, this was now everybody just knew, like, you go see the latest Pixar movie. You just
gonna say the exact same thing. Yep.
You just go see it.
It's a watershed moment. It's like they've had too many hits in a row. This is not a coincidence.
I really feel like it was with Finding Nemo that Pixar really cemented itself as Pixar. Does that make sense?
That was what I was going to lead with too. Was just like that was the biggest memory of like, oh, they can kind of everything they do is gold.
Because I remember vaguely the conversation, like walking into the theater, like somebody asking, like, what is this movie even about? And hearing somebody be like, well, it's Pixar. You're going to cry and laugh. Like, like
Pixar, we make people cry and laugh.
Yeah. And both of those are true for this one. So yeah, this movie, for me kind of holds that kind of special memory of, okay, I am a Pixar fan. That's why I'm sitting down to watch this movie. And then like, oh, and now I'm a Finding Nemo fan,
I don't even know where to begin with this because I just love so many things about it. I guess we can just start with all of the many, many characters that this movie in particular, when you're talking about basically it's the style of a road trip film of two people who don't know each other on a journey together, with Dory and Marlin. Like they put such great detail into giving personalities to all of these different fish and all of
each and every one.
Wildlife creatures and sea creatures, just giving them all even everything from obviously Marlin and Dory, and just the genius of giving her short-term memory loss, just like absolutely genius to do that to make such a memorable character that they then were like that forced by the audience, by the fans, to make a sequel to this film because it was so desperate for more of her, especially. But even down to like Peach, the starfish, to the little guy who likes bubbles.
You just like Peach because it's voiced by the one and only Allison Janney.
Well, we had to do our West Wing reference in here. We had to get that one in here. But even like the
which I have to say, Peach has my favorite line in the whole movie, it takes place after the ending in the credits scene, when they're rolling the bags or whatever, and she's the last one to go. And in just pure Allison Janney, she says, well, that's the shortest red light I've ever seen. And I don't know why, like every time I'm so tickled by that line of just like a starfish. Like we all say that, like that's such a common line, but to hear all of it, it's just so great. I think you're spot on. I rewatching this, I think one of the things that struck me is how many of those different characters we encounter, like how many of these little road trip episodes we go across, from the sharks to the school of fish to the jellyfish to the deep sea monster to the turtles to the whale, like, and that's just Marlin's adventure. Then we get the tank creatures and the seagulls and everything. What I think this movie is a masterclass in is pacing, like the way they pace this story. And I think the moment that really like stood out for me is after the sharks and all the bombs blow up underwater. They choose to transition for the first time to the dentist office with the two birds just sitting on the water, and the little bubble comes up from the explosions. And he's like, "Really, dude?" And he flies off, and we cut. I'm like, that is genius. It's just such a brief little moment, but it paces it. Like it took us down a little bit from this epic kind of, shark sequence and all of that. And then boom, we're ready to go for at the dentist office. And there are so many other little moments like that throughout this whole movie that, as I rewatched it today, just went, it's the pacing that really, like, the strong characters, and that there's so many of them and they're so memorable, every one of them. And then it is so well paced out that you never get tired with any one of those.
I'd forgotten about a lot of the creatures too, like the school of fish isn't the first thing that comes to my mind. But then the fact that there's one fish talking for all of them while they're doing all of the mimes, and they're doing like the all the different logos and stuff like that, and like trying to cheer her up and stuff.
And it's the the John Ratzenberger cameo for this movie. I
think I literally thought to myself right before that, I forget which character he voices, and then that comes into it. But even down to like one of the most iconic animals from all of this are the seagulls with the mine. That, like, if you just say mine anywhere, you'll get a few people popping up in real life going mine. Just they created these classic moments, these iconic moments now that we all still talk about, or even just like the lines, like just keep swimming. It's like, just keep swimming. And then they use that to great effect in the next film to kind of get you to understand where that came from.
Well, and even the two that you just brought up there, I would say that those two lines in particular have moved into like zeitgeist level. Like they have fully infiltrated and would be on anyone's list for some of the greatest movie lines of all time. Like you think of like what are the most memorable Pixar lines. Yeah, you've got like To Infinity and Beyond, and you've got Just Keep Swimming. Like those are in the running for top 3 in my opinion of like Pixar lines, So it was funny if you just pull up like the movie poster. I think the movie poster is so emblematic of this. It's just all of the different creatures.
Yep.
And you see all of them, well laid out there.
But they also did such a great job with the core storyline that they didn't just rely on all of these weird creatures and stuff like that. Marlin's narrative from beginning to end is just so good, starting off as an overprotective father. And just that little twist of him being a clownfish that's not funny, and how they needle at him throughout the entire way. But just his maturation from where he is as a father, who rightfully, like, from that opening scene, you're like, I get why he's doing what he's doing. He's not being crazy. He's been through trauma, and he's just trying to hold on to his son just a little bit longer. To where he gets into the end, it's just a great. It all feels earned. It all feels good. It feels like it was true, even though we're talking about fish and like they're not human beings. But that's what Pixar does so well. They take non-humans and make them feel like real humans that you would know and you could connect with. So I think a lot of movies could have just played off of interesting characters and interesting people and scenarios, but they wove it to where you see him go through all of this process. And even Nemo himself, he becomes braver and stronger and goes through his own journey as well. That it's just really a great heartwarming story to just revisit and to go back to, along with all of the iconic moments as well.
They had me from the title card. I would love to go and like think this through, maybe like quickly watch all the title card sequences for all Pixar, because this has got to be up there. Like right after the attack and everything, and then you just zoom up and you just see this crystal clear water. That Thomas Newman score comes up, which is so peaceful. And then, you see Finding Nemo, the title card come up. I get goosebumps every single time that I see this title card sequence. Because I have the emotion, boom, right then and there. Like I'm on it. I think the only thing that would beat it may be Up. Its opening sequence is probably the one that gets you the most. But and with that, I also thought I think all the other Pixar movies before this, you had interesting story, incredible characters, trailblazing technology. But I also feel like this was the first time that maybe you forget that you're watching a computer animated cartoon. Mm-hmm. Like this movie, it's just beautiful. I think with Finding Nemo, we began to realize, Pixar is not just creating this new way of animated movies with computers. They're going to make the most beautiful animated movies we've ever thought of or will ever see.
Yep.
And that's where, like, by the time we get to like the animation in Toy Story 4 still takes my breath away. Like there's just so many moments in that where it's like, this is just incredible. I think a lot of that, you see, for me, it was Finding Nemo where you go, they're making beautiful cinematic movies that are just going to take your breath away.
Some of my favorite sequences are when they get up with the turtles.
Yeah.
Everything with that, and even just the life lesson in there where Crush lets the squirt go. He goes out of the stream, and Marlin's like, "Oh, we got to go help him," and he's like, "Let's see what the little squirt does." Like as every parent, I'm just sitting there going, "Oh, I needed that." Like I needed to hear him say that because I want to just go solve the problem or go help right away, and just being like, I don't know. What are you going to do? And just see their brains going and see them trying to figure out what the solution is. That's one of my favorites. Obviously the sharks and the Alcoholics Anonymous, fish are friends, not food. That whole sequence and how he goes dark again. Those are two, like, just jump right to the top when I think about this film. Also Mount Wanahakalugi and the Ring of Fire. I mean, like everything about that is just like, you weren't just making this for little kids. Like even me as an adult, I'm just having fun watching them, all these little twists and turns with it and stuff.
I saw or heard a new one this watching that I had never picked up before. So you have to let me know if you had caught this before. But as the dentist is like working on a patient or whatever, he said a phrase that I had never heard of before. He says, "I got to go talk to a man about a wallaby." And I'm like, what? What did I hear? So of course I'm like, got to Google this where, and apparently this is an idiom in Sydney for, I got to take the Browns to the Super Bowl. Like their version of that. But it was funny because I just never had caught on that before. And I'm like, why is Disney dropping this idiom in there at that moment? But then it perfectly sets up like, well, then he comes out of the bathroom right as they're beginning to explain all drains lead to the ocean, everything. I'm like, again, pacing. Okay, we drop this random idiom so that 2 beats later we can get this story, this piece of exposition in. I just love that layer in there. But that was a really funny one that I had never caught. I can't remember how many times I've watched this movie, but this was the first time where I'm like, wait, what? What did he say? I've never heard that before. Oh, okay. That's that. I've never heard that idiom. Had you caught that before?
I think I had heard it, but it had just gone in one ear and out the other. And I hadn't thought about, like, I wasn't as curious as you were.
Well, curiosity kills the cat, so be careful.
And it's Eddie's middle name.
The other, I think, moment that we haven't talked about that has also, I wouldn't say as much as like mine and just keep swimming, but the I can speak whale sequence. Is so funny and well executed. And I even love, I mean, I'm going to jump ahead here to Finding Dory, but I love the payoff in Finding Dory of like, how did she, that we get the origin story of all of that. But I just thought that was clever that the fish just hear whales just dragging out speech and whatever. It was just a really funny way of doing that.
Love when they're in the dark and she's like, are you my conscience? Hey, conscience, am I dead?
We haven't spoken in a while.
I mean, we can't go without saying, like, so I watched this with my kids and they obviously loved when he goes up to the boat and they call it the butt. It's like, wow, that's a pretty big butt. Like my kids were loving.
Oh, Nemo touched the butt.
Yeah. But even just the other kids, when one kid's like, I'm H2O intolerant. The other one's, I'm obnoxious. And I am 100% sure you quoted that over and over again. The I'm obnoxious.
I'm H2O intolerant. And then what was the third one? I'm blanking on it. I had it. But yes, the 3 lines from there, I used to quote that all the time. I thought that was some of the funniest.
Oh, you guys made me ink. Is there any part of this movie that you don't like? Is anything that like, man, I wish they would have spent more time on this? I've been trying to think of it and I don't really, other than maybe the Darla is probably the only technically
villain.
The villain. It's more like she's the ticking time bomb. Like when is she gonna get Nemo? I mean, but it doesn't really have one.
The dentist is also like, he's the kidnapper.
But normally I'm like, I need to have a really awesome villain to really like bring it, to really like solidify the story. This doesn't necessarily have it, and I'm okay with it. I kind of am okay with it. Almost every buddy like a road trip movie has something that they're driving towards. And the clock is kind of the villain. Like, will they get there in time for the wife to get back in time for his wife who's having labor, or to make the sale or whatever it is, to get to the reunion? Like that always serves as the thing kind of pushing the story forward. Will he reunite with his son in time? And so I think for that's why, and Darla's great. Like she's a great character, great, like obvious, like almost like Sid from Toy Story 1. That level.
Good connection. Good connection.
But I was just thinking, I was like, is there anything in this movie that I wish they would have done better? And I'm not coming up with anything. So I didn't know if you had any. Not that I'm trying to make you, but.
No, I would say every time I watch this, I do have this feeling when we get to the end, like they're reunited and then they get swept up in the net. Every time I have this little bit of like, here we go again. Like, like that just, but at the same time, I understand why it's there. Like it serves such a crucial story moment. Like you don't feel the full reward of Marlin's journey.
Yep.
And Nemo's to a little bit lesser of an extent until that moment.
He gets to fully let go of his son for that one, knowing that he might not see him again after he's gotten him back. And then his son gets to lead the charge and pull everybody down to save this whole group. No, you're right. It's a great moment, but there is that moment where you're like, come on, man, let someone else do it.
Yeah.
But that's why we're not the heroes. He's the hero.
Exactly. But but I wouldn't even say that is a negative of it. I'm hard pressed to find a negative here. For me, this is a near perfect movie.
So
I have to do my little score rant because I love this. This is one of my favorite Pixar scores. Like I listen to this and we're not going to count Coco. We'll set Coco aside for obvious reasons. But like I listened to this, I listened to Ratatouille, Up, and Incredibles. So like 3 Giacchino Pixars and then this one. This is and Thomas Newman. But recently you got me going on A Bug's Life. Do you remember, like, you've mentioned a couple of times just how much you love Bug's Life, and
it sounds like
even just
like every Pixar
ago.
film, not in a bad way, but in a great way.
Right.
I want to listen to Pixar. Go to Bug's Life.
Put on A Bug's Life. Exactly. Yeah. So I've been listening to that one, but there is something different about this score, and I said it there at the beginning. Like, it is so peaceful and like it's so moving. There's a moment in the nighttime show at Animal Kingdom where they play just like a little piece of this and do something up on the Tree of Life. And like every time that hits in the melody, in the medley, the Disney medley that they do there is just like this weird, like deep breath that happens when that score comes on. I don't know how else to explain that. It doesn't make. Do you see what I'm saying? Like when I'm making sense about this, it's just an odd score that, yeah, it serves the story very, very well, but it also just has this. It's unique and refreshing and peaceful and calming. It like sounds like you would want a nice swim through the ocean to be.
Nice swim through the ocean. Getting your son back.
Oh, so all the rambles.
So any final words before we rank this thing? Rate this thing?
I don't know. P. Sherman, 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney, Australia.
Well, if it's not any wild guess what mine is going to be, I'm going to make this a 5 gummy worm movie. I'm having a hard time trying to think of why it wouldn't be. Great everything. Great storyline, great characters, great scenarios, great scenes, messaging, music. It's just a complete story, and there's a reason that it's one of the greats.
I'm right there with you. I would give this 5 gummy worms with no hesitation. This is a great film through and through. Like, this is just, and like we said at the very beginning, I think this is really the movie that just nailed Pixar in its place. Like, Pixar is now one of the most premier movie studios, animated or not animated. Like, they are the best storytellers out there.
Took it to a new level.
Yeah. And I mean, they keep it going from here too. You know, there's some good ones on down the line. But this is without a doubt 5 gummy worms for me as well. And I guess with that, your life has once again forever been changed by another episode of Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast.
Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your other favorite podcasts. And while you're there, please leave us a 5-star review and share this with your best friend, with your neighbors, with your family, with your enemies. Get the word out there, guys, because we love to hear when people are loving this show, and we want to share the love with more people.
And you can check us out at honeywemade.com. On our website, we have a full movie list as we continue to walk through all the movies that Disney made from 1988 to 2005, better known as our childhood, including next week's episode where we will review Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl.
Thank you for listening, and remember, just keep swimming, just keep swimming.